A leadership team observes margins declining as rivals copy features, making the market feel increasingly crowded each quarter. More meetings generate detailed plans, but the competitive landscape remains unchanged, leaving only price as a lever. This pattern arises from competing within known industry boundaries, where firms vie for a larger share of existing demand. As the market fills, offerings converge, buyers focus on price, and profit opportunities diminish. A different approach can create untapped market space, where demand is generated and competition becomes less relevant. These moves can yield disproportionate profits by increasing value for buyers while reducing costs through deliberate choices. One product team adds features, requiring more marketing to explain why it stands out. Another team removes features customers do not value, adds a few new elements, and resets buyer expectations. This video explores value innovation, visual tools, boundary shifts, and execution disciplines that make these choices stick. This video is inspired by Blue Ocean Strategy by Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne. Subscribe for more. Red oceans represent the known market space, where industry boundaries and competitive rules are seen as fixed. Blue oceans are the unknown market space, created by redefining boundaries and setting new rules for the game. In red oceans, companies compete to outperform rivals for existing demand, making products commodities and slowing growth. In blue oceans, demand is created, and the goal becomes a leap in buyer value and company profit together. A group of street performers transformed into Cirque du Soleil by targeting adults and corporate clients instead of children. They removed animal acts and star performers, added themes and refined production, charging prices closer to theatre. This exemplifies value innovation, where differentiation and low cost are pursued simultaneously. Value innovation requires aligning utility, price, and cost activities so the entire system supports the new offering. Identify one buyer problem that feels stuck within current industry assumptions, then consider how those assumptions can change. Write the new rule in plain language, then list the few actions that make the old competition irrelevant. A strategy canvas maps the factors an industry competes on, showing how different players invest across them. The value curve summarizes an offering's relative level on those factors, making similarities and differences clearly visible. When value curves converge, rivalry often shifts to outdoing others on cost or quality, leading to slower growth. When a curve lacks focus, costs tend to rise and execution becomes complex due to pursuing too many factors. In the US wine market, many brands clustered around similar profiles, either premium complexity or low-cost simplicity. Casella Wines introduced Yellowtail by creating an easy, fun wine and removing intimidating signals like jargon. The canvas helps shift attention from benchmarking rivals to reconstructing what buyers value by comparing alternatives. A blue ocean profile should show focus, divergence, and a compelling tagline that a market can understand quickly. List the key factors customers see across the entire experience, not just internal features valued by one department. Plot your curve and two rivals, then circle the factors where you can eliminate, reduce, raise, or create value. The 4 actions framework compels companies to challenge industry norms and rebuild buyer value. It prompts companies to eliminate, reduce, raise, and create, so differentiation and cost leadership can be pursued simultaneously. The eliminate, reduce, raise, create grid transforms these questions into a checklist of actions that produce a new value curve. It also reveals when teams merely add features, which can increase costs and over-engineer offerings without real buyer benefit. Cirque du Soleil removed animal shows and 3-ring arenas, then raised venue comfort and created story and music. These choices cut expensive elements while delivering a more refined experience, attracting adults who paid significantly more. The goal is not incremental improvement, but changing which factors matter and which compromises buyers must accept. When the new curve has focus and divergence, it becomes easier to communicate and execute consistently. Fill the grid in one sitting, then remove any factor that survives only because competitors have it. Subscribe if you want weekly walkthroughs that turn eliminate, reduce, raise, create thinking into concrete strategic choices. To reconstruct market boundaries, look beyond accepted industry definitions and systematically scan across 6 conventional limits. The paths include exploring alternative industries, strategic groups, buyer segments, complementary offerings, functional or emotional orientations, and time. These shifts work because competitive convergence increases when companies share the same assumptions about how they compete. New insights often come from familiar data viewed differently, not from predicting the future with special vision. In the wine industry, Casella looked at beer and ready-to-drink cocktails, noticing that wine felt intimidating for many adults. They created easy drinking cues and simplified selection options, then reduced complexity and prestige signals that blocked enjoyment. This boundary work aims to make competition less relevant by redefining the problem and capturing new demand. Demand grows fastest when attention shifts from current customers to non-customers and their shared barriers to purchase. Map 3 tiers of non-customers, then state the common reason each tier avoids the offering today. Design one change that removes that barrier for all tiers at once, rather than customizing for small segments. A commercially viable blue ocean idea must pass a sequence: buyer utility, price, cost, and adoption. Exceptional utility is the first step, followed by a strategic price accessible to the masses, then target cost and margins. If the cost target cannot be met, the idea is either redesigned or set aside, as profit must follow the strategic price. Retailers, partners, and internal groups present adoption hurdles, so resistance is addressed early rather than late. In the NYPD turnaround, William Bratton faced entrenched habits, scarce resources, low morale, and political resistance. Tipping point leadership focuses on disproportionate influence factors, using concentration instead of diffusion to overcome obstacles. Execution becomes smoother when the process feels fair, as trust and commitment form before the work begins. A fair process involves engagement, explanation, and clear expectations, ensuring people feel heard and understand the new rules. Sequence your idea on one page, then list the adoption hurdles, and choose one leader action to unlock quick momentum. Combine this with fair process, and the organisation can execute a new market move without constant coercion. The core shift involves moving from competing over existing demand to creating new demand by redefining what buyers value. This requires making explicit choices about what to eliminate, reduce, raise, and create, rather than adding more of everything. Value innovation aligns utility, price, and cost so that differentiation and low cost reinforce each other within a single system. The strategy canvas and value curve reveal where the industry converges and where a focused divergence can be built. Reconstructing boundaries and reaching non-customers expands the opportunity size, as common barriers are removed at scale. Getting the strategic sequence right protects the business model, ensuring that utility, price, cost, and adoption work together. Start with a single-page canvas of your current offering, then write a clear winning tagline in everyday language. Next, draft an eliminate, reduce, raise, create grid, and challenge one sacred factor that consumes cost without value. Run the utility, price, cost, adoption sequence, then address the hardest adoption hurdle while the momentum is still fresh. Subscribe if building uncontested space through clearer choices and fair execution is the kind of advantage